First up now, Japanese two-wheeler major Yamaha will turn its Chennai plant into its main export hub. According to reports, Yamaha Motor India's chairman Itaru Otani has projected a 25% spike in exports in FY26, adding that the company's plant in Chennai will now train its sights on exporting to more advanced economies, including the US, Europe and Japan. For context, Yamaha's plant in Chennai exports top-line models including the FZ V2, the V3, the V4, the Crux, Saluto and a few others from the plant in question. In FY25, the company recorded a 33.4% spike in exports, shipping 2.96 lakh units versus 2.22 lakh in FY24. Yamaha, remember, also runs an export operation from its second plant in India at Surajpur in Uttar Pradesh. Moving on, South Korean footwear maker Hwangsung Footwear has firmed up plans to invest 898 crore rupees in Andhra Pradesh to open a state-of-the-art non-leather footwear manufacturing facility in Chittoor. The project is expected to take form and shape on a 100-acre industrial campus and is likely to generate over 17,000 jobs, according to the Andhra Pradesh government. The company will make its investment across three phases. Phase 1 will see an outlay of about 309 crore rupees, while the second and third phases will see the South Korean major cough out 299 and 292 crore rupees respectively. Now here's where this gets interesting. Hwangsung initially almost finalized plans to open this plant in Tamil Nadu, but shifted its entire proposed setup to Andhra, reportedly because of a slew of industrial SOPs being offered by the state. For instance, Andhra has offered the company a 30% investment subsidy, local procurement subsidies, a 10-year power tariff reimbursement, a 100% exemption on stamp duty and registration, and a decarbonization subsidy for green manufacturing. Now, responding to the criticism, Tamil Nadu's Industries Minister TRB Raja attempted to direct attention to Andhra's slew of incentives as the reason for Hwangsung's change of investment plans. He said, and I quote, "We will not join a race to the bottom by offering unrealistic incentives," end quote. The minister also said that investment promotion wasn't an everyday activity, but a strategic process involving alignment between the state's priorities and the nature of jobs created, also reiterating that Tamil Nadu will always remain a manufacturing powerhouse. Now, for context, criticism had been levelled against the Tamil Nadu government by members of the opposition, including BJP President K. Annamalai and the AIADMK Supremo K. Palaniswamy, both of them calling Tamil Nadu a land of missed opportunity, accusing both the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin and the Industries Minister T.R.B. Raja of letting go of prime investment opportunities to the neighbouring state despite a slew of investor measures. So the Tamil Nadu government, they're facing some criticism, but its Industries Department doubling down and answering these critics with regard to maintaining the industry status of the state. Now, staying with Andhra Pradesh, Hindustan Zinc has announced that it has secured a composite license from the AP government to explore and mine a tungsten and associated mineral block in the state. The development is significant for the Vedanta Group's strategy to move beyond zinc, lead and silver. The license follows an auction held by the AP government earlier this year, where Hindustan Zinc emerged victorious. Now, the license in question also grants the company a two-step concession to explore, establish viability, and then mine tungsten in Andhra Pradesh. Hindustan Zinc, remember, is the world's largest integrated zinc producer with exports to over 40 countries and a 77% market share in India's primary zinc market. More news from Andhra Pradesh now. In a rare display of public frustration, Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu has slammed employees of the Visakhapatnam steel plant, accusing them of seeking out salaries without running an efficient operation. At the CII Partnership Summit, the Chief Minister lashed out at protesting employees at the plant, saying, and I quote, "How can you sleep at home and not work? Will they pay your salaries for free? Don't you have work? Will the union and state governments always give you money?" End quote. For context, employees at Vizag Steel, represented by worker unions thus far, have been up in arms since 2021, protesting the proposed plan for the centre to embark on a 100% divestment strategy from its stake in the PSU. The protests have thus far enjoyed widespread political patronage. However, ever since the TDP, BJP, Janasena political combine rose to power in AP, Vizag Steel has seen bright days in terms of financial infusion. The centre has in fact approved a 11,400 crore rupee package to revive operations at the plant. The state has also extended its policy of industrial SOPs to the plant in question, rolling out subsidies in the form of property tax, water tax and electricity charges for the plant. Shifting focus from Andhra to Telangana now, global cosmetics major L'Oreal will open one of its largest Global Capability Centers or GCCs in Hyderabad. The proposed space will be separate from the company's existing R&D facilities in Mumbai and Bengaluru and will power the French company's work in innovation, technology and research. The announcement also signals Hyderabad's coming of age in GCC investments. In fact, 2025 alone has seen 70 big-ticket GCC announcements in the city, including those from names like McDonald's, Eli & Lilly and Netflix, among others. The L'Oreal announcement, though, is of special interest. After all, India accounts for only 1% of L'Oreal's annual sales, ranking at a lukewarm number 15 in terms of the cosmetic firm's biggest markets worldwide. However, L'Oreal now hopes India will turn into one of the company's top 10 markets in terms of revenue across the globe in a few years' time. An atmosphere of shock and sadness has prevailed across the country as a bus carrying 54 Hajj pilgrims collided with an oil tanker in Saudi Arabia. The bus in question was making its way from Mecca to Medina, where the accident is reported to have occurred. 45 of the victims are reportedly Indians, many of whom made the pilgrimage from Telangana. The Telangana government has said it is in touch with officials in Saudi via India's External Affairs Ministry. Both Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Minister S. Jaishankar have expressed sadness at tragedy, and both the Andhra government and the Union government, as well as the Saudi authorities, have been pressed towards extending relief measures towards the victims of the tragedy, many of whom, remember, hail from the state of Telangana. Right, moving on then. At IIT Madras, a first-of-its-kind innovation is presently underway. The Institute's Sudha Gopalakrishnan Brain Center is attempting a breakthrough that could change the very face of modern medicine. In 12 to 18 months, the center says it will release the world's first cellular-level 3D map of the human brain across age groups. That's from the second trimester fetuses to 100-year-olds with a history of medical conditions. This work, funded by IIT Madras alumnus Chris Gopalakrishnan, is already producing detailed 3D maps of the human brain with major implications for diagnosis, treatment, and even future AI. Earlier today, I visited IIT Madras and chatted up with Professor Mohanashankar Sivaprakasam, who heads the Brain Center, to find out more about how the tech could impact millions of patients and lead to bigger commercial applications. Here's a slice of that conversation.
If you look at the mission of the Brain Center, the ambition with which it was set up is to image whole human brains at cellular resolution.
Right.
Now let's go a little bit into it to get a sense of why it is so hard. You have hundreds of billions of neurons, right, in each human brain, right? And as we know, the human brain itself is quite different from a fetus all the way to a child, then to adolescent, to adult, and then to old age. Right? One of the fundamental challenges today medicine, both brain sciences and medicine faces, is we have not seen the brain in detail. Now, when we say detail, what do we mean by detail? Right? We can look at the brain at a millimeter level resolution in MRI. But unless you are able to see much more detail, which is at cellular level, a cell is about 10 micron, What does it mean? That's about 1/5 to 1/10 of a human hair. Unless you see the entire brain in detail. Right? So think of, you see Chennai at a very high level. You really cannot plan and build all this, solve all the problems until you get the street level.
Right.
In fact, you need almost a house level view for you to really manipulate, build, right, solve problems with it. So that's a pretty good analogy at the brain level. So technology today doesn't exist to image human brains at cellular resolution.
Right.
So there are two problems now. The science doesn't have the answers. Now, to do the science, you don't have the technology. So one of the first things we did, which led to Dharani early part of this year, is we built a technology platform, which is where we are now. It's the world's most advanced human brain imaging platform.
Right.
Which is, we take in a human brain, we acquire this human brains post-mortem in a very high quality manner. We have close to around 450 brains, what we call normal, neurotypical brains and diseased brains, various diseases. So we acquire them, we section them at very, very thin sections, about 10 to 20 micron. Then we image each section at about half a micron.
Right.
Right? So that's really a tall order in terms of data, in terms of resolution, in terms of engineering complexity. So we built all this from 2020 to 2022. Then the first set of results, the first set of human brain maps that we released is the second trimester fetus. Right? Why is that important? Right? Is from 12 weeks to about 24 weeks, the brain goes through extraordinary development, both in terms of structure, volume, size, its details. Right? So we finished that. Now we are continuing this journey. We are doing our third trimester, which is 24 weeks to 40 weeks. And we are doing adult brains as we are speaking. Right? So there are, currently we are almost completed 10 to 15 adult brains. And our goal over the next year, year and a half, couple of years, is to have for the first time in the world human brain maps starting from first trimester all the way to 90, 100-year-old across age groups, across genders, and different disease conditions. So
Right.
that's what we are after.
Absolutely.
And in fact, the third trimester brains, fetal brains, that is completed. So we will be releasing that sometime in the next 6 months. And the adult brains, various adult brains are being done, different disease conditions, stroke, old age, which is aging-related neurodegeneration,
Right.
Alzheimer's, rabies infection, COVID infection. These are all the brains that we are currently imaging, and we will be releasing this data over the next 12 to 18 months.
Right. So 12 to 18 months, then you can have a comprehensive list of, of what the human brain looks like, the 3D imaging, and thanks to the work that you do and this platform that you've built. Now, cards on the table. What does this help solve, and what kind of impact do you see by way of this technology and the comprehensive data set that you develop thanks to the Brain Center and its work?
Right. So that's an excellent question. So the one way for you to look at this is neurology, which is how the field of medicine that treats neurological diseases. It's always hampered because it doesn't have details of the brain. Right? So if you look at where cardiology is today, or you take ophthalmology, we are able to see the organ in such great detail. Right? Especially you take ophthalmology, we are able to see in tens of microns the retina, and that has revolutionized the way we diagnose diseases and treat them, manage them. But the challenge with the brain, with the thick skull we have, everything is inside, and it's evolutionarily built that way that you can't access it.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's why we are this way. So one of the first things it will do when all these things come out is to give a neuroscientist and the neurologists and people who treat brain-related disorders and diseases a clear picture beyond what they are able to see today.
Right.
That is the first significant development. Once you have that, you will have impact on how you treat it. Now, what does treatment modalities mean, right? Pharmaceutical, surgery, right? Largely 2, and there are other ways to manage behaviorally certain conditions. These are the places where you will start to see an impact, but that's a little further away. One of the first immediate things is medicine will have access to such level of details of human brains, which they can juxtapose with their existing knowledge, clinical knowledge, and then elucidate as to what is happening in these patients.
And how many patients do you project could likely be impacted by way of this work that you've done?
So usually, what happens in any medical field, right? The typical thing we always say is about 1% of people typically need some form of healthcare at any given time. So if you take a look at that way, it will be in millions. It will be millions every year who will have benefit of having this level of detailed images superimposed with their MRI, which is naturally at a lower resolution because it's being done real time. So the other way to look at is we are creating this detailed maps, right, which act as reference so that the individual patient details, it can be overlaid on top of it, and the contrasting features will help the clinician, the physician, or the surgeon, whatever the case may be, to take the further action.
Absolutely. I also hear that commercial applications, taking off from the technology platform itself are presently underway thanks to the work you've done at the HDIC itself. Could you elaborate on how commercial applications are being worked on with regard to the platform that you've built and where you could see actually industry going about utilizing this technology for the greater good in healthcare?
Yeah. So, again, I have to go back a little bit as to, how our group at IIT Madras is structured. So we are essentially a medical technology group, which is we build medical technologies with an explicit goal of converting it to commercial products. Till date, since our work 2011 when we started, we have close to 12 commercial products in the market. Around 20 million patients have been impacted. In one way, the brain center is an interesting fork, if you can say that, is not the way these medical technologies have been built for eye surgery, for eye examination, for endoscopy, for patient monitoring, robotic surgery. These are what you call, the science is already established. The clinical science is established. You have to build this technology, either because the technology is not available in India, or India has the need or the opportunity to develop a different kind of innovative technologies. That's how we have been doing, and as I said, 12 commercial products have come out. Now the Brain Center, and indulge me on this a little bit, came up because Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan, who's our distinguished alumnus, about 2014-15, he sort of challenged us, saying, today you are creating medical technologies where the science is already established. And what we can call, these are technologies that are for the next few years, let's say, right? Because they get into the market. But can India do absolutely cutting edge research that will produce new science, which means that you're producing new science, which will inevitably have new technologies associated with it, which will lead to much larger impact in fields which today the science itself is quite behind.
Right.
So the Brain Center, in one way, it is actually a technology problem because you don't have the technology to actually do these detailed brain maps. And we are successful in building that technology, and it's now running at full scale, full speed, almost at industrial scale, as you can see. Now the maps that are coming out, right, will have commercial implications. Right? From medical imaging point of view, there are commercial applications that you will have in how we take this brain itself, and this could be any organ. We are doing it for the brain. It could be for any other tissue, and we are able to do the entire 3D reconstruction of the entire tissue block at very, very fine resolution, half a micron, and we are in fact doing some genomics work also in a matter of few days, right? A few millimeter. So that will have commercial applications. So imaging, pathology. The other application, which we were a little bit surprised, we probably didn't realize this, In order to process this kind of data, which is petabytes of data, right? So we're talking about gigabytes, terabytes. We're talking about several petabytes of data per brain. Right? So if you're talking about 100 brains, you're talking about 200, 300 petabytes of data. To have this data even viewed, organized, stored, analyzed, right, requires new computing frameworks, new computing tools, new AI methods. That is something that we are continuing to develop. That will have, as we know, we are living in the AI boom as we are speaking. So that will have commercial applications as well.
Absolutely. Lots to look forward to then. You also mentioned Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan being one of the patrons and supporters of the kind of work that you do. Going forward, do you see more such industry academia partnerships in order to further this work and take it far and wide in terms of the potential that it has out there to change the world that we live in?
Yeah. In fact, what Chris has done is really something. What it has done is has catalyzed this model itself. Today, this center, after Chris and the Principal Scientific Advisor's Office, Government of India, they're the one who took the initial risk to take a risk with us for us to build the technology platform. Since then, we have close to 15 industrial houses and family offices, philanthropists supporting this work. So in one way, this what Chris has started has already, created a new wave of funding cutting-edge science R&D through philanthropy and through industry funded R&D. And that is something that is already happening. And this will scale over the next few years, as we can already see it. And once that happens, once the science and technology is built, you will have what we call translational R&D, right? Which is, let's say, a medical imaging company or a pathology company will come in and say, I would like to translate this into a product. That will continue. Right. So, what Chris has started has actually ended up in a big wave, a new model of doing science, I must say.
And since you mentioned products, I said before I end, I have to ask you, so what's on the anvil? How many more products do you expect to be born out of the kind of work that you do and the kind of support that you've received? I know there's so much potential for applications. How many more going forward?
So, on the medical technology side, as I was telling you, there are about close to 10 different products that are commercially on the anvil over the next couple of years, which is in various fields, right? Robotic surgery, neonatal monitoring,
right.
Organ preservation and organ transport, cardiovascular, early cardiovascular screening. That's on the HTIZ side. And as I said, on the brain center side, there are a series of instruments, there are a series of what I would call data sets that are annotated at very great level of detail, which will have implication in clinical research, right? Trials, and so on. Right? And as I mentioned, the computing platform that we are building is something that has deep implications, which even we have not realized fully.
Well, just imagine that 3D maps in great detail of the human brain, right from fetuses to 100-year-old individuals. Just another day at IIT Madras and its innovation machine. Right, moving ahead now, a massive ghee adulteration racket targeting Karnataka's Nandini brand has been busted in a joint operation by the Central Crime Branch and the Karnataka Milk Federation's Vigilance Wing. Investigators say a network operating out of Tamil Nadu was producing fake ghee, packing it in counterfeit Nandini sachets and bottles and pushing it into Bengaluru's retail supply chain. The investigating teams have seized 8,136 litres of adulterated ghee, valued at 1.26 crore rupees, along with the machinery used to make it. Fake packaging material, coconut and palm oil that were being mixed have also been secured as evidence. Authorities have also confiscated 4 goods vehicles being used to move the adulterated products. The Karnataka Milk Federation has said suspects include license holders who are now under deeper investigation as agencies continue to probe the fake ghee racket across the Karnataka-Tamil Nadu border. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of South Central. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow as we continue to keep a pulse on news and action from South India. For the moment, it's goodbye from us.